Hello, friends, and welcome again to another episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. My name is Eric Willis.
And I'm Bob Willis, the dad of this situation.
And I'll be the son. Yeah.
You are, yeah, you can be that. Yeah. It's good to see you this morning,
Good to see you, Dad.
Yeah. Well, I just really looking forward to this time because there's something that has come up that I really wanted to draw on your expertise a little bit. I wrote this morning on my morning moments on Facebook about judging people, and someone had an issue with a friend of someone she thought was a friend who basically judged her grief, and it really shocked her because she thought they were close friends, but
Mm.
it put a wedge in that friendship. As I was reading that, I thought that's really awkward now. So how do you talk to someone about difficult subjects, and maybe how do you talk to difficult people about
Yeah.
subjects? How do you communicate that? I know that's your area of expertise is communication, but a lot of grievers struggle with that. What do you think, E?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I read your post this morning and I read what this lady had shared, my heart broke for her because it almost can feel like a violation of
Mm-hmm.
on an emotional level when someone judges you or makes a statement that hurts
Yep.
and really offends. And so that's what it boils down to is an offense. And
Mm-hmm.
um, and so difficult people and having difficult conversations with difficult people, that's an interesting dynamic of life because um, the first thing I would say is whenever someone says something and we take offense to it, uh, take a split second um, to pause. And so, what I'm going to give you is the old moniker that all of us learned in elementary school, or we learned sometime in our early childhood, that if our clothes ever catch on fire, what are we supposed to do?
Yes, drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll. And so that's the advice I'm going to give you as you're engaging in conversation with a difficult person or someone who's judging or where the conversation can be offensive. I want you to stop, drop, and roll. And so
Mhm.
the stop, what I mean there, stop the thoughts, drop the assumptions, and then roll into action. So that's what I want you to remember. Stop the thoughts, drop the assumptions, and roll into action. Um, because there's a process that needs to take place because words, they penetrate. And
Mhm.
when we hear somebody say something to us, we're actually filtering what they're saying to us, and we are attaching meaning all along the way. And so,
Mhm.
in that process of us attaching meaning to what they've said to us, we need to stop the thoughts, which means that when we hear something and we start to attach meaning to it, um, take that thought captive. Don't think thoughts of they don't love me, they don't like me, they want to hurt me. Any of the negative thoughts that surround the immediacy of being offended by what somebody
Mhm.
says, stop the thoughts. Okay. There's a three-word prayer that helps me do this. It's God help me
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that moment.
good, simple. Right, exactly. Because we're being attacked. We feel like we're being attacked.
Right.
And so, yeah, we need to stop at that moment.
Yeah, and stopping the thought is important, but then dropping the assumptions. Assumptions happen when we don't understand fully what's going on, or the context of what's being said, or the story behind the individual that's
Mhm.
saying what they're saying. And so we begin to fill in the blanks of the things that we don't know. And so
Mhm.
dropping the assumptions means don't assume that you know why that person is saying what they're saying or doing what they're doing.
Mhm.
Drop the assumptions. There's a three-word prayer that you can pray to help you with this. It's God help me, um,
Mhm.
and engage by stopping the thoughts, dropping the assumptions, and then roll into action. Having a conversation with a difficult individual really requires you to ask questions to understand why this individual is difficult, because
Right.
even by calling someone a difficult person, we've made a judgment statement of them. that they're being difficult in this moment. So what is
Mhm.
behind that? So there are two questions to ask: questions to clarify, and questions to seek understanding or definition of what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, someone can. There are actually people, and I have friends in my life who are this way, that they are blunt. They don't beat around the bush. They say what
Mhm.
comes into their head without filtering it, and that's just their natural way of just
Right.
talking.
You've learned that. That's their communication style.
Yeah. And there is not a mean bone in their body, or not, their intent is not to thrash me or tear me up or chew me up and spit me out. That's not
Mhm.
their intent. It's just that their style is just blunt, straightforward, and it can be offensive to people.
Mhm.
Now, can they work on their delivery? Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
challenge them to do that. But I
Yeah.
can also work on my receptivity.
Mhm.
So I need to ask the questions to define and clarify, seek understanding of the communication piece. We don't understand people's stories, just like they don't understand our story. So when they make comments that can be offensive to us, we need to stop the thoughts, drop the assumptions, and then roll into action by asking
Mhm.
clarifying questions along the way.
Right. Right. And I think that's good because we have a tool that we can use, asking those questions to help clarify things. Why help me understand why you would say that. What makes you say that to me? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hearing certain things. So what do you mean by this?
Yeah. When you said this, here's what I heard, and
Mhm.
here's what that meant to me. Is that what you
Mhm.
intended?
Right. Right. Clarify. Yep.
Yeah, help. And that way you're not clarifying for them, you're giving them an opportunity to clarify. And if they're
Mhm.
mean spirited, and if they say, yeah, that's what I meant, and it was
Mhm.
offensive, be bold and be straightforward with them and say, well, that's offensive.
Yeah, that hurt.
That hurt.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's not helpful. And
Mhm.
quite honestly, because that was intended to hurt and be offensive, I'm going to have to put a boundary in place with our communication moving forward.
Yep, yep, yeah, and that's something we have control of. Is saying that, I just need to draw a line right here. That I'm not comfortable going any further in this conversation. I need to put that boundary up because that hurt too much.
Yep. Yep. And the boundaries that we put up, boundaries are intended for protection. Um, and so uh, you can either put boundaries around relationships, or you can put walls up between relationships.
Hmm.
And I'm a proponent of
Right.
putting walls up around relationships. So you can
Hmm.
still be in relationship with someone that's offensive or difficult or rough on the edges in the way that they communicate, as long as you
Right.
both have an understanding of what communication and interaction looks like in the relationship.
Right. Right. And I think that's it. It's learning people, learning their heart, learning their communication style is real important. So we don't make those assumptions and judgments upon that, they're attacking me, and so I'm going to attack back.
Hmm.
So help clarify things. What's behind this?
Yeah. And take individuals who are in grief, and grief does something to us on an emotional level that
Hmm.
creates a higher sensitivity to the words of other people. And so Dad,
Right.
talk to us a little bit about what grief does, the added component to communication.
Hmm. Right. And true. And in our society, there's a feeling, spoken or unspoken, that we just need to get over this and move on.
Mm.
And we realize that we're around the edge because we're not over it. We're not wanting to get over it. And so if someone comes across as trying to pull us past that or accuse us because we're not judging us because we're not moving fast enough in it, we can take offense to that. That hurts because it's our grief.
Yeah,
It's our grief.
yeah, and ultimately in the communication with people that are judgy or difficult, um, I would challenge you. This would be my challenge for all of us in communication, is to, because we have a tendency to become myopic and just see what's right here in front of us,
Mhm.
pull back a little bit. And in
Yep.
the process, um, don't allow yourself to get stuck in the immediacy of that moment, but pull back a little bit
Right.
and see a bigger perspective, bigger picture.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, that there's a context in which every communication happens. We don't have the answers to every context. So stop, drop, and roll. Stop the
Hmm.
thoughts, drop the assumptions, roll into action by asking questions to engage. And if that individual that you're engaging with actually is difficult and mean spirited, um, put a
Hmm.
boundary in place
Yeah,
to redefine what the relationship is going to look like moving forward.
right.
You
Because
take
we
ownership of that.
exactly we can take ownership. We can change our environment. We can step away. We can step toward more supportive and positive environment rather than the negative. That's a weight and holding us down, hurting us. So I think that's it, taking control of it. Very important.
Yeah. And it's a grief on top of grief to have to say goodbye to a relationship that you thought was there. Uh,
Hmm.
and it turns out that they're just judgy and difficult and mean spirited. And so, for
Yeah,
your own sanity and health, take ownership of that, put appropriate boundaries in place, stop, drop, and roll. That would be my advice.
right. Yep. Good advice. I think that's the key too, is kind of need be step away for a while, step away from desiring that close relationship, pull back from it so you can see it from a distance. I think that can be a valuable tool to look at the big picture instead of right here. But yeah, good advice. See, good
All right.
stuff.
Well, thanks for asking, Dad. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so, how can folks send us questions? How can they reach out to you and we can answer them?
yeah. Well, I have an email at rwillis14@cox.net. rwillis14@cox.net. Every morning I do a morning moment, which is a little Facebook article I put up each morning that deals with life and grief and loss and feelings and just a number of things. And so
Mhm.
people are welcome to tap into that Facebook, look for this face and on Facebook, and you're welcome to follow me, friend me. Don't stalk me, but you can follow me. That's how they track me. How do they track you down, sir?
Yeah, you can find me at reclaimleadership.org. And that's the website that you can reach out and contact me. I'm also on Facebook, Reclaim Leadership on Facebook as well, where I do a Monday morning mindset reset. Just those
Hmm.
concepts out there each week for us to chew on, to think about, and to process to help us live a more rhythmic and well balanced life. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
all right, Dad. Well, it's great to see you.
You too, E. Too.
And
Folks, thanks for joining us.
yep. Love you, Dad. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Love you too, E. Thanks, folks.